Welcome to the BXG Podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet.
You think it's just going to be barbecue sauce?
Because if you actually read those books, it's just gobbledygook.
I really think clothes should be mandatory.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Captain America.
trailer reaction video.
Hello and welcome to the BXG Podcast. Today is a special episode. As you all know, listeners of this, viewers of this, we are huge PBC fans, and we are happy to welcome back Jessica Flaum from the show and welcome in Josh Simpson, one of our favorite characters on the show as Jamie. Thank you both for coming in. We really appreciate it. Like I said, Brendan and I, my co-host Brendan, we love this show. We were on this very early because Brendan was looking up Danny Trejo, as we mentioned before, and this show came up, and we just really, really love this show. So thank you both for joining us. How are you both doing?
Good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having us, and thanks for watching the show and talking about it. It warms my heart, so I appreciate it. Yeah, good to be here.
Brendan, how are you?
Oh, you know, doom and gloom always.
Damn.
Western Pennsylvania. I haven't seen the sun since November. So
I thought you were taking.
Are dealing with some rain right now, although it's kind of subsided.
Yeah, Brenton, we got rain, so
We had flooding. School was canceled for me yesterday.
yeah. Oh, bummer.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a teacher. We had like flooding, so people couldn't actually come to school for the day off.
Is that a pain in the ass as as a kid? You love it, but as a teacher, are you like yes, or are you sort of like, is it a pain in your ass?
I would have rather worked because I was just answering emails.
I see.
And so it was, and I'm going to grad school, so I was trying to use that day as like for that, but then I was doing that and answering emails and sending out things. So all this stuff that I wouldn't have had to do, I had to do all day. So honestly, it was more of a bummer than anything. I woke up thinking this is gonna be a great day, and then it ended up being answering emails and trying to change my whole schedule around. So, but I survived, got through it. So good.
I would never rather work.
Yeah.
I normally
Never.
say that.
Well, my socks got a little wet walking my dog, so pretty tough day for me too.
I mean, there's
Rough
nothing
over
worse.
here.
Yeah.
So obviously, like Greg said, you know, we're big fans. I think that there were a lot of changes for the better, length of episode, things like that this season. But what was the difference for both of you kind of preparing for the first season versus the second season, where you've now kind of been in this role, you know the character a little bit better, that sort of thing?
You can go ahead.
Josh, wanna go
Yeah,
first?
whoever
I can
wants
go
to.
first. Well, I think one of the big things that was different about this season, especially for Josh and I, was that we were both writers on it. So we were originally, we were a part of this season specifically from kind of the beginning of it. And I have to say that was really interesting for like preparing for the actual shoot and knowing the character, because I think when you're in the writer's room and really understanding the journey that the writers want the characters to take in this season and the intention behind all the different story arcs and the lines and things like that, it really actually does give you a lot more perspective on like what you want to bring when you're actually on set and having to do it. So that for me was huge, and just really exciting opportunity to be able to do this season. And I think it really elevated so much of the project.
Yeah, I agree with that. I being in the writer's room was really fun and enlightening, and kind of made me more invested in the whole thing. So that was a big difference for me personally. I mean, the first season I had a pretty small part. I was, how many days did you do on that one, Jessica? Like
I think
12?
I think 11 or 12, because this season I know was only like 2 days more, and I think I did like 13 or 14. So yeah, like 11.
I did like 4 the first season. And it was pretty, I don't even, whatever. How do I even say this? I think I got kind of lucky because like, I don't think my character would have come back, but they did one of the days that the last thing I did on set was I got to like improvise a little bit in the talking heads. And I think that kind of saved me. I think that was the whole reason I got to be more involved in the second season, because like then they used that talking head even in episodes that I wasn't in, and then it like, you know, so why am I don't, there's no real reason for me to be mentioning that, I guess, but like I guess it's just illustrating that like I wasn't as involved in the first season, and then I think that sort of that little bit where I got to improvise helped me sort of, I don't know, prove myself in a weird way. So then I got to be involved more in the second season. And then, yeah, I mean, the big difference for me too is like Jamie in a way got upgraded. I think they were maybe I think they were maybe just being nice to me. But like, well, I mean, letting me be in the opening sequence and stuff like that. Like you usually don't let a character go from being like a guest star to a part of the main cast, but that was the most obvious difference, even though I was, as I know you guys have pointed out, sort of in my own world for most of season 2.
Josh, you very much earned it, just to be clear.
Well, thank you.
I mean, all this, and I think we talked about this probably in the pod from season 1, but just so much of the Jamie stuff that's in season 1 was completely unscripted, and like the clumsiness, like that wasn't even really a part of the character. It was just a creation of you, Josh. So you definitely earned your slot. That's all I have to
Actually,
say.
it was one of the only descriptors I had was that he was a klutz. Yeah, but the first scene that we did was when they introduced us, or the auditors, and then I just took a spill. I took it as an opportunity. I shouldn't tell you this, but I auditioned for the lead, and I didn't get it.
You auditioned for Hunter.
I auditioned to be Hunter, and I like got it to the second callback, and then it was also funny. Like I know I'm telling you everything. I shouldn't tell you all this, but I know the guy who I know Mike Whitmire, who created the show.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I didn't get the lead, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like even now, I can't get the lead. This is like whatever. And then like when I read Jamie's part, I was like, "Oh, well, this is the part I usually get of like the dipshit." So I sort of showed up to set with a bad attitude. I was sort of like, whatever this shit is like. And then I viewed it as sort of a challenge to do physical comedy. And then that's mostly what it was until that last day when I got to improvise like the talking head parts. So I guess that's all I got to say.
I mean, so it falls into, you know, what our next question is, I mean, obviously with Sarah's characters, there's an evolution that's, you know, just that relationship evolution and also the promotion. But with Jamie, it's the different job, but also just being on the show more. So describe how the evolution, you know, really changed between 1 and 2.
For me?
Yeah, for you, Josh. Yeah.
Well, I think I didn't have to evolve much. I mean, I got to do more stuff. Like I got to be literally in the show more, but you know, going back to the Hunter or me auditioning for the lead, I'm so glad I didn't get it. In retrospect, Jamie is like the perfect part. You know, it's like I don't have to carry any of the emotional weight of the show. I just got to be more of like, it's all funny, I think. But like whenever we were writing Jamie's parts in the writers' rooms, I think it was like not just for me. I think for a lot of people, it was like the most fun part. And I will say, I don't know if you, to give Jessica a little shout out, she wrote the Telsa bit.
Okay.
So good.
Totally surprised us surprised me. She like mentioned it when she was writing it. Like, I wrote a bit for you where you have a knockoff Telsa. And it was so funny. But like, I think that just speaks to like, I think part of the reason that Jamie became a bigger part was just, it was fun to write for him. Like probably the most fun.
Well, and I think, like you said, there's not any emotional weight to the character. He is kind of like he's there, but he's sort of like not there, which is one of our favorite things about the character. But it probably would be fun to write for that, because it's just like, okay, we have this character, we can put him in whatever situation is ridiculous as possible, because it just really at the end of the day doesn't matter, because he's not moving the story forward, he's just sort of there. And so yeah. I would kind of like, that's just like it's a blank slate sort of deal. You're not connecting to any of that other stuff. But I'm curious a little bit with that character and some of the other characters, when you're writing them, and this is for both of you, as you mentioned, you're both writers. When you're writing those characters, how much of that do you take from, personal experiences or other characters who kind of fit the mold of what you're looking for? Because I really felt like Jamie reminded me so much of Tobias from Arrested Development, where he was just kind of like nothing was going to go right no matter what. And he was just kind of really positive and optimistic about everything.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, I think one thing I'll say is, I think it is pretty interesting, and I'm only speaking for myself, just to be writing on a show, where the accounting mentality is really important to the show. And obviously Josh and I are not accountants, so that's something that we kind of had to step into. And, it's difficult because these kind of office experiences, I don't work in a typical office job. I work from home. I work for a really small company. And I work in entertainment. It's not like a high growth startup like Sunriser. So in terms of like writing from our personal experiences and things like that, I think larger themes, we definitely leaned on like our personal experiences and things we could connect to. To speak for Sarah specifically, one of the things that I really wanted to see for her character this season was this idea that being liked doesn't necessarily give you like respect. And that was something that I think she really, she gained in the first season. She became a part of this crew. People really liked her, but they didn't really respect her or see her as a leader. And that's kind of part of her journey for this episode. And so I think that's something personally I connect to, but the way that it's integrated into this, accounting operations job and things like that, that was something that was really foreign to me that, we had to kind of learn how to navigate. And luckily we had a lot of people in the writer's room who could speak to that more authentically.
Yeah. I agree. I'm trying to think. I mean, there was stuff that like how much of the writing came from real life. There was stuff like when we were talking about like for instance, Sarah getting the ick with Marty.
I knew you were going to bring that up as soon as yes, true.
that was sort of like something that once that was mentioned, I didn't even know that term, but like once it was mentioned, I was sort of like, oh yeah, I've definitely gotten that before. I've definitely gotten the ick. But like that was kind of a moment where the writer's room was like, we all kind of related to that, and then we kind of tied it into accounting stuff, like they did the spreadsheet wrong or whatever. But like in terms of like bringing your own stuff in, I always do that when I'm improvising. So like a lot of the dumb little lines, I teach improv. That's my background, is like I improvise, and I taught it at the UCB Theater out here in LA. And one of your best weapons is your own specifics. So like even something as stupid as like that line where I was like waiting to get invited to what I thought was my birthday party, and I got an email, and I was like, you buy one canoe and it's all canoe emails, is like, that's because I bought a paddleboard and then I continued to get emails about this fucking paddleboard. I'm like, I got a paddleboard. I don't want any more. So, but I don't have like cats. I don't know. There's like, you pull some of the stuff from your real life or some specifics, and then some of it's just very strange. Some of it is just like they don't yell cut, so you just keep going, and then it becomes canon.
Oh my God, that's like the incest stuff. Like that started as a joke between me and John, just about how we looked alike in our characters, and then it just became a bit that just kept recurring. We did not originally intend for it to. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That brings me to one thing on your side, Jessica, and then one on your, Josh, is when you did the Elizabeth Holmes bit, I was dying because I watched that show and you nailed it. I mean, I was absolutely dying with that. And where did that come from? Was that something that, was, pre-done and you kind of knew, or where did that actually come from? Because I thought that was absolutely incredible. It was so funny and so well done.
That was really funny because so that was my episode, but that specific part was Gallagher rewrote that, who's our showrunner, Michael Gallagher, and he wrote in that bit. But originally the Elizabeth Holmes part of it was only supposed to be in the part where she's talking about like lowering the voice. We weren't actually going to dress up as Elizabeth Holmes or anything like that. But I had actually done an audition for a sketch show where I had to do a bunch of different characters, and Elizabeth Holmes was obviously really big at that moment. And so I did an impression of her for this audition. And so then when that was written to the script, I brought it up to Gallagher. I was like, oh my God, I just did an impression, of Elizabeth Holmes and all this stuff. And then in wardrobe, I saw that there was this black turtleneck, and I was like, I went up to Gallagher. I was like, do you want to just make her Elizabeth Holmes, dress her up like her? And Gallagher was like, should we do it? And I was like, yeah, I think we should. And so we did it. And so that was the day of, that wasn't written into the script originally. The lines where she's going to IT and she's, trying to get them to do something for her, that was there. But the fact that it was Elizabeth Holmes was kind of a game day decision.
It was terrific. And Josh, you had written what was probably my favorite episode of the season, the Halloween episode. And I saw on your Instagram that you mentioned that you wrote it, but you also mentioned that there was a lot of improv in an episode like that. So I know you're an improv teacher, but how does that work? How do you have a show written, but then also kind of meld that improv in there so that it still works in a tight way?
Well, for us, I mean, I feel like we're given a lot of leash as the actors. So a lot of that's like Gallagher and Josh Sims. And I know Gallagher specifically likes shooting with 2 cameras, which is, that's how you can do that. That's how you can improvise and get the coverage and not have to worry about covering your ass. And I mean, they're probably, I would assume, one of the harder parts about editing it is that we are breaking a lot. That whole scene where it was where Jamie got in an automobile accident, a lot of everything about the piano was improvised. There was even more funny stuff. There's a lot of funny stuff that we lost because people laughed.
All right, Josh. I know he's calling me out right now.
No. I'm talking about. I screwed up the editor. I watched when we were at the premiere. We watched episode 2, and there's that scene where Jamie freaks out at Dave about the donuts. I ruined Dave. I ruined Pete's mojo in that scene. He told me, he's like, you ruined just about almost every take of this. So I'm not saying I didn't do that, but how does that work? You just keep going, really.
Just keep going. Okay.
And then if you break, hopefully they cut to someone else, and then you can just do it. But you can see me break in that particular scene, actually. There's a second where you can see my eyes go, my eye smiling. I think it's what part? Yeah. Anyway, it also, that doesn't make sense. Maybe you could probably tell that I'm improvising when my grammar sucks, or when even that story, if you really add it up, is who dropped the piano? Was it my dad or what? It doesn't matter, but
I would say we typically get one take kind of pretty much as written, and then every other take afterwards gets a little looser and a little looser. And especially the ends kind of tend to elongate. That's how I usually see the improv go.
And you almost killed my co-host in that episode too. Brendan, why don't you describe the scene, and then Josh should tell us about how that worked.
You're muted or something. Am I the only one not hearing him?
No, I can't hear him.
Okay.
Bump my mute button. There it is.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Jamie comes in and he's got bird fecal matter all over his shirt, and then it cuts to him explaining the story about how the bird pooped on his hat, pooped on his shirt, pooped in his mouth, followed him from a Jersey Mike's to was it a TJ Maxx or something like that, and then back again. And when the bird shit in your mouth, I was just like, okay. I had a drink and it was gone across the room. I was like, okay, I need to pause this and try to, collect myself here, because I was having a hard time getting through that scene. And that episode in general was just from top to bottom. Like, I felt like a sitcom masterpiece. I mean, it's not really a sitcom in the traditional sense, but just like it was just top to bottom one of my favorite episodes of a comedy in a really long time. And I know we were talking before we hit record, and you had said that on that same line that was something that had in fact occurred to you that you brought into the show.
I will be really clear. I never had a bird poop in my mouth. That was fiction. Fair. At least not that I know of. But yeah, that bit, I mean, thank you for saying that, by the way. It is worth mentioning that like every episode is like, we all kind of did it all together and then people improvise. So it is like, I did a lot of the bones of that. I did write that bird poop bit. That was one I was like, I just thought it was funny. I liked writing physical stuff for Jamie. But yeah, when I was writing my episode, I had COVID. It was the whole time we were writing, I was having housing issues, COVID issues. It was a real shit show. But yeah, I had COVID and I had to walk my dog. So I was walking my dog, taking a break from writing, walking my dog, and with a mask on for those who care. And I got shit on. I got a bird actually shit on me while I was like kind of in that scene, like writing in that. I was not far from writing that moment. And this is corny, but like I was kind of in a bad place. I had COVID. I was like trying to find a place to live. I was like, had all this work to do. I was super stressed out. But like when the bird pooped on me, I actually took it as a moment of like, I'm on the right path. Like I oddly was like, took it as a bit of divine, like, okay, this is gonna be good. I should just keep going.
So
yeah.
It's supposed to be good luck if a bird shits on you. So
that's just what
is that
people with bad luck say.
Yeah, okay.
There's no way. Oh, what good luck. I have to do laundry. Take a bath.
So I think with this season, as Greg and I kind of discussed when we did the season kind of wrap up, there felt like there was some finality to it, but there were definitely two things that were sort of hanging there as far as loose threads. One being that Ricky the janitor, played by Danny Trejo, was actually the CEO the whole time, doing like a undercover boss situation to watch everyone, and then he compliments Jessica's character. And then Hunter, as we get the big culmination of the will they won't they, the whole time he gets the text that he's been offered another job. So what does this mean, moving forward? I know that there was, when Jessica chatted with us last time, that there was hope that there would be a second season, and then it was ultimately confirmed. Are we going to see a second season? Is there a good
third season
on that? I'm sorry, yeah, third season. Is there a good feeling on that?
You're asking the two wrong people.
Should we spill the beans that we don't have? No, I mean, I think the
Where's
best
Ricky?
answer...
We need him to spill the tea.
Exactly. Yeah, talk to the CEO, Ricky. No, I mean, look, obviously we're both super hopeful. We think there's been a lot of like great response, both from like inside the company that made it Flowcast, but also, accountants and people out in the world and non-accountants. But, I do think with, writing television, and especially when you don't know if there's going to be another season, I think there is some finality, but you always obviously leave some of those cliffhangers, just in case you do end up getting to do another season. But I don't know. Speaking for myself, I would love to do a third season. I think there's a lot more to explore, but currently up in the air. But really, just because it just came out, it's still playing itself out. So we'll get answers hopefully very soon. I don't know, Josh, you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's totally, we don't, I know that like people are hopeful about doing it. It really is like, I know you talked about this. I listened to a couple of your episodes where you talked about PBC. I try to look up anything where people talk about where there's a chance I got a compliment. So I listened to these episodes. You said something in there about like how this might, I forget who said it or whatever, but I remember there was like some talk of like this type of show being made for YouTube, maybe being like it's just strange, right? And it could maybe upend some of what the streaming services are doing. I'm not I think it's even weirder than that. Like truly, like this is made by an accounting software company to appeal to accountants to get, it's not obviously heavily branded. There's no, I don't even think Flowcast is ever mentioned. It was originally in the first season, but I think they cut it.
We did like but it was like really on the nose. It was like supposed to be kind of funny that we were even mentioning it.
Yeah.
Although I will say so Mike Whitmire plays the guy that's presenting, like that's saying Ricky the CEO or Charles Frankston. That guy is the CEO of Flowcast. It's Mike Whitmire, who Josh knew. Yeah.
My college roommate.
Oh, okay.
Thank God it like worked out. I didn't, whatever. Thank God the part worked out.
I interrupted you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I forget what I was even saying. I was just saying it's there isn't a metric that like we have to meet, right, which is like, it's ultimately like, does Mike want to do it? And Mike wanting to do it at all was unusual. Like he basically took what would have been his advertising budget for Flowcast and put it towards making a show, partially because he has an interest in doing it, just in making a comedy show about accountants and his old life as an accountant. It's just a weird project. And like, it's technically branded content, and I'm wearing a Funny or Die shirt. I worked for Funny or Die for a long time. I did a lot of branded content. I've done a lot of branded content. It's the most freedom I've had in branded content for sure. And it's even like working on real shows and stuff, like there's more freedom making this than any other show I've been a part of, just in terms of like improvising even like for a branded content for like a bit about incest, just to slip in and become like kind of a running gag is like, that wouldn't be allowed on a real show.
Right.
So will there be a third season? Who knows? It's ultimately like, it's whether Flowcast thinks it's worth it. And like even 2 seasons is more than we should have got. I have no clue. But I know that everyone that's worked on it loves to work on it. So
yeah,
hopefully they sign the check. And hopefully we can get more people to watch it. I mean, that's ultimately the real thing. But even if we did, I don't know what it would do for Flowcast. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And that's I think the pro and the con of it. And like we had talked about in those episodes, I think that content like this that's produced for YouTube should be scary because of the freedoms that you guys have. Then you as the cast, the writers, there's limited rules set. You're not appeasing to any board members or subscriber bases or anything like that. And I think that that's probably going to be a very attractive place to work for a lot of people because of that freedom.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, that was like limiting in terms of, especially during the writing process, was Mike was just very adamant about it being authentic in terms of an accountant's experience, which in the end is not very much limitation at all, but it was something that, like, for example, for the last episode, we had that user conference, and the last episode was so complicated to write, and there was a lot of different ideas being thrown out there. And there was stuff that, for us as, writers, as actors, we felt like was believable enough, or we felt like, oh, well, you wouldn't usually have that conference at this time, like, whatever, like, it's a couple months later, like, who cares, whatever. And, Mike truly was like, no, it's gotta feel real, or else we're gonna lose our very real fan base, which is these accountants. They want to see it, they want to be able to connect with it, they want to feel like it's real to their lives. And he stuck by that, which I feel like, in the end, when we pushed back past some of those like initial problems, we were able to find solutions to everything that felt authentic. And I think it made it better.
Yeah. I forgot what the question was.
Oh, I don't even know if it was a question. I think it was just about, the fact that we get a lot of freedom and
yeah.
So before we wrap up, Jessica, you directed a short documentary this past year, Abortion Add to Cart. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, and then what else you have kind of going on for the next year.
Sure, absolutely. I directed a short film specifically it's actually about self-managed abortion in the United States, which has become kind of a really important topic, unfortunately, because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This is a method that was actually pretty unknown when I first started doing this back in 2020. That's when I started developing the project, but it has absolutely exploded due to really necessity, because of so many of the really strict laws banning abortion in many states in the United States. So it's been wonderful to be able to share the film with people as basically as a resource, and also as a fundraising tool to be able to support local clinics that, at this point are really, over committed, not able to provide all the resources that they need to. So it's been a wild ride. Obviously I'm happy that the film's being used as kind of a service now, unfortunately, and just hoping to spread the word more about it. Yeah.
Is this a good time to plug my pro-life documentary? It's called Life Begins in the Balls, and I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, Josh, you mentioned that you offer online improv classes, but what else can we look out for you in this upcoming year?
That's a great question. I do teach. I teach improv and I teach sketch stuff online. That's more just like I guess it's a passion project, a little bit of supplemental income, but not really my main thing like it used to be. I'm just writing stuff. I'm trying to write a pilot. I'm almost done with that. And then after that, my plans for this year are a little open-ended, I guess, but I have my YouTube channel is Josh Simpson. So like Josh, but JARSH. We got some old videos on there. I got a short film on there, but, I have some plans to make some more like videos and projects and put it up there on my Instagram and stuff. So, that's about all I got right now.
Awesome. I mean, we'll both, promote you guys too for that kind of stuff too. Because just like I said, we love the show so much that we want to promote as much as we can for anybody that works on it, and everything's it's just great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate your guys' support. You've definitely been loyal fans and friends from day one. So we appreciated it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's PBC. It's on YouTube, Flowcast Studios. If you haven't been listening to us for the past, couple months now, I think that we've been talking about it, get over there and check it out. It is really funny, really worth your time. And we just want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Jessica, again, Josh, both of you are obviously welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Great. I'm excited to be back next week.
Okay.
All right.
I will say I listened to the episode where you were like kind of shitting on Avatar, but loving PBC. I loved that. I like Avatar, but the fact that anyone in the world could be like Avatar and PBC.
Great. Yeah. It's not Avatar's not the problem. James Cameron is the problem.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
I enjoyed Avatar, but whatever. Different amounts of skill going into each one.
Sure.
Why did I mention that? Anyway.
I actually saw Avatar with Josh Sims, who's one of the directors and producers on PBC. And I asked him, I was like, what do you think of Avatar you could make with the budget of PBC? And he said, one single wave, one of those CGI waves we could have made with the budget of PBC.
You could have done Edie Falco's part. That's it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
I'm just glad we fit Avatar in on this episode.
Yeah.
We got a streak to
great.
keep up.
There you go.
Right. Keep the streak going strong.
It gets another mention once again.
All right. Well, again, thanks and take care, guys.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Appreciate the comparison to Tobias, by the way. This David Cross is definitely a hero of mine.
Yeah, I love that character.
Yeah.
And Zach Galifianakis. There's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.